Hi, everyone. It's your girl, Dionte Chantel, real estate developer, and we have a special guest today on the show, Mrs. Danielle Michelle. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Glad to be on here today talking to you.
Yes, yes, yes. So I don't know how we started following each other, but I knew you were in real estate development as well. I knew you had a very similar background as myself. So I was like, you know what? We have to get her on the podcast because this podcast is really to encourage or to motivate women in real estate development. And we show love to the men sometime, but there's
Yes.
not many of us Black women in this space. So this is why I had to create the platform. So welcome again.
Thank you. And I think I actually started following you because I saw just anywhere I could see a woman doing some development, I was like, let me follow her. Let me see what she's doing. How is she doing this or that? So yeah, I just started following you and then I just started posting. So you probably just follow me back like, oh, she's doing stuff too. So yeah.
Yes.
hmm
I love to see my peers doing real estate, investing development. And I know you're also a realtor, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I want us to go back a little so everybody knows like who you are,
Mhm.
what you do. So can you briefly introduce yourself and talk about your background in real estate? And
Mhm.
I know you have like different avenues, realtor, investor, developer. So if you can give us like a brief overview of like how you got started, that would
Mhm.
be great.
Okay, so originally, I'm a software engineer with a focus on design and quality assurance. And I did that for 16 years in corporate America. After the first 6 months of working this corporate job, I was like, there's got to be more. And I knew I couldn't just sit in a desk. It felt like jail to me. So I was like, I have to figure out something else. I had done some entrepreneurial things already, like selling purses, bags, clothes, all kinds of stuff. And then I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Somebody got it to me, and then a light just went off, and it was like real estate. I have to invest in real estate because I was so young. So I was 24 when I bought my first house. I lived in that. I got my real estate license at the same time. And because I was in a position where this is before the crash. I had a lender and a realtor kind of together and not together with me, and they're giving me this, loan agreement, and I'm like, these numbers don't look right, so I need to know what they know. So went and got my license, and bought a house at the same time. With a different realtor and mortgage person. I turned around. I had a friend. So I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. So this is after Katrina, working in Baton Rouge, which is an hour away. And I had a friend who was commuting, and I was living in an apartment. So I said, hey, if I buy this house, would you rent out a room? And she was like, yeah. So I rented the room to her for $500. The mortgage was 700, and I just was stacking money. And I was like, okay, on to the next. After that, I got a duplex in New Orleans, and that was my first um, shot at being a landlord. And then I turned around and rented out the other house as well, and just got another apartment. So that was my first steps into real estate. And actually, because of after Hurricane Katrina, seeing the devastation, and I had been in the Rich Dad Poor Dad, the classes. I went to, they had conferences. I was like the youngest person in there, like 24 years old. I remember even playing the cash flow game at one of the conferences and doing all these things. And I was able to analyze the market down here in New Orleans. And I was like, wait a second, all we need is this to fix up this house because this is what they're selling it for. And you add that up, but the value is this. I was like, this is crazy money. So I would run around the office talking to a friend of mine, showing it to her. And I'm like, look, we can make 60 grand if we do this,
Right.
and I just loved that. I was always into math in school. So I actually wanted to build the duplex, couldn't do it because I was told by people, hey, contractors mess over you. And a lot of people got messed over after Hurricane Katrina. People lost a lot of money with contractors just running out, doing a shoddy job. But for the majority of the time, they just did not do the job that they were paid to do. They got the money and they ran. So I had someone else who was already in the process of building it, and I bought that duplex. That did well. Life went on, and I, you know, had a sense from my peers that I was probably doing too much. Like, I'm like 25 years old. I have 3 rental properties, and I'm making very good money in IT. My peers weren't really with me, at least the people I had around me at the time. So I slowed down on that, and I shouldn't have. But
Yes.
I started doing other things. Like, I had an online boutique. I had um, a bath and body line, a hair product line. Like, I was doing all these things, but the bread and butter, I should have stuck with the real estate. So went ahead, got married, got pregnant, got divorced, and went through bankruptcy, Chapter 13. And I was in Dallas, North Dallas at the time, and I literally just quit my job after I had her because I was like, there's no way I'm only going to see my baby for a couple of hours a day because I'm ripping and running working. So I
Right.
quit and I jumped into short-term rentals in New Orleans at the time, and it was booming. So that kept me going for a while. And then eventually I moved back here, started looking for work, couldn't find it. I'm sitting on the floor with my 8-month-old watching HGTV. My parents are working, everybody's working. I feel like a chump because I don't have a job. And I'm like, I should be doing this. Like, I need to be building. I always wanted to do it, and I even spoke to a couple peers back before I got married and everything. I'm like, hey guys, her dad's a contractor. I know the numbers. Let's do this. We could put it together. And it was like, it just went over their heads.
So
So,
wait, hold on.
uh-huh.
Kind of going into business with the ex-husband?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, because you
No.
said he was a contract. I was like,
Oh, no, no, no. I was a friend's dad.
okay. So make sure. Which is
Yeah,
okay if you did, but I was just like, how did that go? That's a whole nother.
that's a negative for me. That wouldn't have went. So,
We never whatever. Yeah, I
yeah,
got stories for
no, no, no. So, I wind up finally getting a job. I got on at IBM in Baton Rouge,
that.
and I started to catch back up on things because I was probably 7, 8 months behind on everything, just going through divorce and lawyer fees and just the ringer, right? Getting drained of funds, still in bankruptcy, and what wind up happening is I just worked my plan. I created a plan on how much I wanted to save towards investing, how to just pay off everything little by little and get my credit back up. And it took about almost 2 years. What was it? 2 years? 18. It took a year. After that year, I still had bankruptcy on my credit report, and I talked to this guy, and he was like, "Oh, they still having the auction." So they had the Nora auctions, which
Mm.
I wanted to do a long time ago, but I just didn't have the guts to do it myself. And he told me about it, and I was in action mode. At this point in time, I realized, listen, life is not waiting for you. If you don't get up and take actions on the dreams that you have, you're gonna be sitting in the same place. As I was sitting on the floor watching somebody else on HGTV build this house, and I'm like, dang, that could have been me. And they were building in New Orleans, so I was
Wow.
like, that should be me.
Now, what year was this?
This is 2018, 19,
How did I
18.
know you were going to say that?
Yeah.
I was in New Orleans for the first time 2018. Oh, my
Really?
grandfather, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, y'all.
No, you're good.
Popping in my head. This is a conversation, not a formal
Yeah.
answer.
You're good.
But my grandfather's wife, her sister died. The house
Mhm.
was in New Orleans. And at the time, I don't know if it was on the another side where it wasn't gentrified yet, past the tracks. I don't know if you know.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I don't really know. But
Sounds like lower
now
9.
I know it's all gentrified. And I don't know what they did with the property, but I remember analyzing the deal back in 2018, the first time I ever came to New Orleans. But
Yeah,
I was going through so much with my daughter's father. So anyway,
yeah.
I just wanted to ask what year was that?
Oh, yeah, girl, 2018. So, and to say that, if you're saying it's across the water, those values are up. They up.
It
They
was like this aqua blue turquoise looking house.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it
Yeah,
sold. I know it. Yeah, I know they sold it. I doubt they still have the house.
man, crazy. But
Okay.
yeah. So, where was I? So yeah, 2018. Okay, so I got into auction. I did really good for I feel like it was the month of September and October because those months in my Airbnbs because those are our festival months, right? So I was rocking. So I pulled in 7K. I was like, oh, okay, this is extra. Until that point, I was just living, nothing at the end of the month because I'm paying things back and I'm budgeting.
Mhm.
And I said, well, I gotta put my money up. So it's 3,500 per property to bid on. So I said, well, maybe I could get two. So I put all 7K on it and I just really rolled the dice. But not really rolled the dice. I did my homework. So researched the properties. I knew the area. It was in my a neighborhood where I'm from, Gentilly, in Punch and Train Park. Um, and I knew the profit margin. So I was like, if I get this, this is going to be something major. Like I never made my own salary in, in half a year, right? From a real estate deal. So I went forward. I did not have the credit. I was not bankable. I did win two lots in the auction for the low. One was 21,000, the other was 45,000, which even the 45 was still great. There were two really big lots. And tried to go to closing. It took me, I postponed closing three times because I could not close because I didn't have, nobody would fund my loan with that bankruptcy on there.
Mhm.
So I wind up talking to, she became my broker and she's like, hey, here's a hard money guy. So I found the hard money guy literally the day before the last time. They only let you push it back three times. And then you have to pay an extra 1% fee every time. So I was just giving them my check, giving them my check. But something in me was just like, this is going to work. Nothing that I saw showed me that this was going to work. It was all fake. It was all on God. So I was just like,
I was about to
okay.
say, are you a believer?
Oh yes,
Because
heavy.
it'd be that small voice. You'd be like, I don't know how this is gonna happen.
Man,
And that voice is like,
man.
keep going.
Anybody else would not have done it. So I wind up getting a loan for like 67K. I pull from credit cards. I pull a line of credit, a little bit of whatever I could to just make that payment. Because the hard money lender wanted 25%, so I had to figure that out. And it literally was the day of that I got a loan from, I don't know, just one of these little lending things, and I was able to close. So I was like, thank God I closed. Then after I closed, it took me a year to get financing. So I had to have somebody working on my credit and also trying to get this bankruptcy off my credit. And that took a year. And finally, I mean, I tried so many lenders, maybe 20, right? They all just denied me. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I'll just keep going. I also tried to get a mortgage modified on the one of the rental properties that I had. And that finally went through. So I was like, okay, well, this bankruptcy is coming off. And the middle of COVID, it came off of one credit bureau. And the broker I was with at the time was like, well, try this lender again. I think he only uses that one score. I tried it and he said I could do it. And I was like, what? What just happened? And then I said, well, can I do them both at the same time? And he was like, yeah, I think we can. And I was like, what? So I did two new constructions, no money down, got money back at closing, built and started right after, was this in the middle of COVID? Yeah, it was a little towards the end of COVID. And I sold one of them within like a day of putting up the sign. I had a contract on it. The other one sold within less than a month. It was crazy. Those were good times. COVID times were good times.
Okay.
Um,
Everybody outbidding people, I'm sure, right?
yeah, man, yeah. And then I let me backtrack because I should say this too. So it took me 3 months. I pushed back closing three times. They gave me 30 days, 30 days, and 30 days. And through those times, it just looked like I was not going to get these properties. But what I did is I just say, you know what? Thank you, God, for these properties. And I went over there. I took the sign off of it. I put it in my car because if you leave them up, somebody will come behind you and try to get it. And I just rode around with my daughter in my car, and because I would ride around for her to go to sleep. And
Mhm.
she was very little. She might have been two. Two.
Oh, yeah, those are the days.
Yes, and I'd go by my lots every day for 90 days. I drove by those lots till we closed. And I say, you see this lot? We're gonna build, and I would just imagine what I'm building, and I'm telling her we're gonna build a house on there, we're gonna sell this house. We get out and walk the ground, and I say, okay, so the bathroom will be here, this will be there. And it sounds crazy, but it's like I really had to visualize and stay focused and stay on faith in that one thing, and not be distracted by what's going on in real life, right? Like there was fact, which was I don't have it, and the truth was I'm gonna build a house on it, it's mine, right? So that was just and even I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now.
I'm about to start crying because that's some of my testimony. Like the five
Yeah,
houses that I'm building now. Like, yeah, anyway,
girl.
you telling your story now. But
No, you good. Yeah.
so by God's grace, you had faith in yourself. You believed that somehow, some way, it was going down. So she like,
Yeah.
I don't care if I gotta pull the signs that say for sale. This is mine.
Put that sign in the back of my trunk.
Okay,
Both
this is
of them.
mine.
I was like, this is
So
mine.
happy on this. And I just love that. Like that's very similar to my story. And for those who don't know, and I'm gonna do a whole podcast on it. Um,
Uh-huh.
I had to so y'all know, or some of y'all don't know, I have a mentorship called Zero to Developer. And a lot of people's like, what does that mean? I'm like, I had to start at zero
Yeah.
many times in this business. The first time coming into the business, I started at zero. Then as an investor, I kind of started at zero. As a developer, I started at zero. And it wasn't intentional. Like I didn't want to start at zero. I thought I had everything in place. I've had to, you know, sever ties with people,
Hmm.
cancel partnerships with people, just because I apparently God wasn't for me being in those partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Even had to call off an engagement.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It was the person that I was engaged to was actually my builder. So it was like, it was just weird. Okay, sis? It was
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
So, any assets we had together, we had to split it. Like it was just a mess. So when it came down to it, I had to start over. Okay.
Mm.
And what I will say is I already have bought the first two lots. So I'm building we just completed like 4 out of the 5 houses
Yeah.
by God's grace.
Yes.
And the first two I had owned
Hmm.
I had bought it August 2020.
Okay.
So I was just like, let me see, when did we break up? We didn't break up until like June 2021.
Mm.
But I was trying to plan a wedding. COVID was all over. Like it was a
Yeah.
lot going on during COVID. It was just a lot. Like
Crazy.
lumber was high. It was just stupid stuff happening. So I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? Let me wait until I could close on the other three. So I had to wait on the city of Newark to close on
Hmm.
the three. Make a long story short, everything happened in God's perfect timing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what Holy Spirit did was He got me a new builder.
Yes.
So
Won't he do it?
he did it. So the new builder was like, hey, I'll partner with you, yada yada yada. He
Mhm.
went on to fund the project, the whole thing,
Go ahead.
$2.5 million. Okay. So I didn't even have to worry about like it was just God. Okay. Anyway, God
Right.
is awesome. That's all I gotta say.
Girl, that's a testimony. That's a testimony. Oh my
Listen,
gosh.
just a blessing, right? But no, I love back to your story. I'm sorry.
No, you're
So
good.
let's
So
talk about the numbers. So you bought it. So somebody I know in the background is gonna be like, well, what is this NRA or whatever? Are they
mhm.
still selling lots for cheap?
Oh, it's called Nora, Nora. Not necessarily for the cheap. So it's bidding.
Okay.
So hot properties go, I mean, they go through the roof. It's kind of to the point now where somebody who's kind of seasoned is probably they're not even going to focus on it because they feel like, well, there's no telling they're going to go crazy with the prices because there are a lot of people that jump in who are not really investing based on numbers. They just trying to get a property. They know somebody. And because they do that, they run the prices up so high, it's not even worth, you know,
Right.
bidding on. It's like, no, I'm not going to make a profit building on that.
Right.
But I will say this. So I also do a one-on-one mentorship coaching, right? And I have two clients who just won properties in there. So they're going to be building some duplexes. So I'm excited about that. One just closed the other day. So it's still possible to go ahead and get something out of there. You just got to have a certain strategy. And so I kind of just taught them the strategy I used, and they won. One of them won big. So I'm like, well, they both won big because they both getting stuff with equity in it, and that's my main thing. Is if I'm gonna buy land, I need equity in it already. I need to know what my margin of profit is, and I want my margin to be really big to, in case all these other things happen. I know, hey, I'm still gonna bring home a good chunk of change. So yeah, so it's still out there. Yeah.
So that's good that we are very like-minded, because the land that I purchased, it came with like 90 to 95% equity.
Heard that. I heard that on your videos.
A lot of equity,
I
right?
love
But
it.
people, I don't recommend either people buy anything without instant equity.
Mm-hmm.
Not even buildable equity, instant. Like, meaning when you close,
Yeah.
you already have the equity tied into the land or the house. So I
Right.
love that you're telling your clients that as well, and they actually won the bid, even though they had to go against other people. So we just thank God. See,
Yeah.
I'm sure the favor on your life was extended to
Yes.
them, and it's only going to make you look good, so you can do bigger things for the kingdom of God. So that's amazing. That's really, really amazing. And so on your deals, what did you wind up profiting? Like, what was the cost to build, and what did you wind up netting? Or
So at that time, my cost to build was 100 per square foot. I
okay,
built like 180. One was 1850 square feet. The other one was 1750.
okay,
Um, and so I sold both. Of one I sold for 358, and the other I sold for three. I let it go for 330. It was a cash buyer.
okay,
Um,
okay.
I could have held on for some more, but it was six-figure profits. So I was like, which was, the market increased from when I started building to 6, 7 months later. So it was like, whoa, I'm making how much? Like my initial thinking was, probably like 70 grand, 80 grand. And then that just went to the first one was 125 and the second one was 95. And I
Whoa.
was like, this is major. Let me keep doing this. So then I actually got two more after that. I partnered this time with a good friend, well, both with two good friends of mine. And one of those we sold, 6, 7 months after. The next one, we ran into that hiccup of the market last year, which is still hiccuping with these high interest rates, which kind of knocked a lot of people in our market to buy at the price that we were selling. So we just did a pivot. We start short term renting it, then turned around, and that did very well. And now we have a long-term renter in there and about to put it back on the market.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So the market here is different from NOLA or New Orleans.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what's happening there? So
Mhm.
I'll tell you briefly what's happening here. We're okay because I'm in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, so we still are getting the influx of New Yorkers.
Mm.
Can't afford New York, at least
Mhm.
the first time home buyers anyway. So you'll see, like, the people like us, like the Black and Latinos, they're coming into Newark, New Jersey. The train only takes them 20, 25 minutes to get into Midtown Manhattan.
Right.
So they're like, I'll move to Jersey. At least I have a two-family home, income property, yada yada yada. It's cheaper, it's more affordable. But the resale values are still like 700, like for a brand new construction. So it's still high.
Wow.
So we didn't really see much happening yet. I hope
Mm.
it's like that. But in NOLA, like you just said, due to high interest rates, you're starting to see a decline a little with the homeowners. Or
With the people who can actually qualify, and not only that, afford to live there. And with us, it's not just the interest rate. That's one caveat. The next one is the price of insurance. People were paying maybe um 2,000 or 1,500 for insurance. Now they're paying 6,000 for a single family house for the year, right? That's crazy. So when you start adding 400, 500, 600 a month on top of the high interest rate, you're knocking people, in my opinion, from that 300 to 350 mark all the way till about 600, maybe below that, maybe even 550. If you can get a mortgage higher than that, those folks aren't having issues because they have the money to pay that. It's under that where people are like, hey, that's cutting me really close. And then the people who used to can afford, because let's say before the interest rates and stuff, you could get a house for 350 and probably have a $2,000 note a month, including your insurance. Now that's like, shoot, maybe like 3,000 down here.
So I'm gonna assume that New Orleans is in a flood zone. That's why they.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we sit in a bowl.
Right.
So we have some areas that are higher up in the bowl that are not considered flood zone, but the majority of us are. Yeah.
Okay. All
So
right. That's
yeah.
interesting.
So and with that, our prices, we're limited on land. So prices have not really gone down. I think we're getting more buyers in like the low cost homes, like maybe 200 to 250.
Mhm.
Those houses are going. You put something like that up, it's gone. And we are still seeing an influx of people from, let's say, California and Texas, coming to New Orleans and buying up stuff. So,
N- Now, are you pivoting or going to another market like Baton
mhm.
Rouge, Streetport? I don't know, Alexandria,
Mm,
I don't know these towns. Are you
uh,
moving outside of New Orleans?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment. I do have some opportunities that I can look into. I have two projects on deck now. That, as you said, the ones you're working on now, you got in 2020. So now I got some stuff from 2021 that I'm like, all right, let's get this wheel going, get these built, so I can move on to the next.
Right.
But I definitely have some opportunities up north, more like Monroe, Louisiana. Baton Rouge is an option. There's a lot of stuff out in BR for the taking. But right now, New Orleans is my bread and butter. It's what I know
Right.
to the T, and it's where my connects are at. So yeah,
I respect that. I just got connected with some guys out of Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and Monroe. Like they said, all those towns this week.
yeah.
Like,
Those towns they're having to expand.
well,
So
it's a construction consultant that I met.
okay.
He works a lot with the government. He does a lot of RFPs, does a lot with the federal government. So he just knows a lot of people. And
Mm-hmm.
one of like my very first people that I ever met in real estate as an investor,
Mm-hmm.
he connected me to him. And they're like, yeah, 20,000 houses in Texas. I'm like, what? Who's building 20,000 houses, right? Those were the conversations this week. So we're just going to seal that.
That's what's up. I like those type of
I'm,
conversations.
I'm not even right. I'm not even the lead developer, but I'm like, just
Listen,
add me on there. Small
listen, let me be a fly on the wall. Let me hear.
right, but it's it's all minority developers. So
Mhm.
yeah, as I know more, if we need help, I'll listen.
Yay.
I'll let you know for sure. But he just told me about it. I'm like, that's crazy.
Mhm.
But this country needs affordable housing. There's a short, as we know, there's a shortage.
Oh
I
yeah.
love that shortage. Um, but awesome. So let's see. We talked about a lot so far.
Yeah.
I love, love, love your journey. I love that you persevered again, and it probably looked like it wasn't gonna happen.
Girl, it
But
did not look good.
when you have faith in God, anything is possible. And
Yes.
there's nothing that God cannot do. So whoever's listening out there, there's nothing that God cannot do. And I would say hold on to Luke 1:37. And it's something
Mhm.
like with God nothing's impossible or something like that. I think that's what it says.
Yep.
Somewhere in the Bible, in
Thing.
Genesis and Revelation. That's what the word says.
Yes.
So just in case you didn't know, Danielle, this is actually um I'm a Christian woman, of course, but
Oh, I
Journey.
got that from your IG. That smells like, oh, let me keep following. Yeah.
So, by God's grace, God gave me the title Journey to Developer as a
Mhm.
developer, because I was developing in Christ and I was developing I was becoming a developer at around that time. So,
Yeah.
we're here to really talk about real estate development, but also spiritual development in Jesus. So,
I'm all about it.
if you're about to get real estate, you're about to get Jesus sometime,
Yes.
most of the time of the day. But but anyway,
Well, and if you do mentor with me, that's what you're gonna get too. Because if it's not if it had not been for the faith that I have in God and holding on to scriptures like that, then I will believe what I see is in front of me. But I can't live by what I see. I have to walk by faith, live by faith, and by what His Word says, and stick to that. And that's a hard thing to do in this world when you
yeah,
have all these outside, negative things, that you actually physically see. And like I said, it's the fact. Like when we see facts, we think, oh, that's it. But no, what's the truth? He's the truth. Facts is it's whatever.
she
I
preaching.
need that truth.
Okay, she is preaching. All right, so I know some people are going to ask like, okay,
Mhm,
Deonte's a developer, Danielle's a developer.
mhm,
Um, but they like, well, how do we actually build, right? So can
mhm,
you go through the process that you had to take
mhm,
on your real estate development project from the concept to
mhm.
completion?
Okay. So, first thing with me is my location. Like, where am I building? And for me, I've been studying the neighborhood that I grew up in as a kid. Probably since 2000. No, let me back it up. Since Hurricane Katrina, I had been studying. And once I started, I never stopped, So I was always on realtor.com. And then when I got the MLS, I was looking at the numbers and I'm like, hold up. So first is analyzing the market. What are things selling at in that area, new construction or redone? And once I got that location, it was like, okay, let me move forward to acquire. How do I acquire the property? And I can't say that as I was first going through it that I had all the steps. I was just trying to figure it out. So I was talking to people and I really prayed. I was just like, okay, God, I don't know what I'm doing. So send me people who know how to do what I want to do well. Right. And that's what he did. So he sent a broker who was also a woman developer my way, and she poured into me and she shared connects
Nice.
with me. And that's why I think it's so important for us, especially as women. It's like we have to be able to share the knowledge, share where we're getting financing from, share where we're getting our plans and all those types of things, because these guys not giving it to them. Nobody's giving you anything out here, right?
I ain't
Um,
gonna say that.
so my process: find the land, I do my numbers, acquire the land. Once I acquired the land, it was, hey, let's get to the plans, which I already have an idea based on what's in the market of, how big the house is going to be, and depending on the lot size. I go to my architect, I get plans, shop the contractors around, and pick the one I want to go with. Submit a contract with a contract with my contractor. I have my plans. I submit that stuff to my finance guys. They go ahead, approve my loan. We've already submitted permits. When I connect with the contractor that I want to do business with, I'm giving them everything so we could just go. So by the time we close, we dropping dirt, we dropping pilings, we building, and give us about a month or so. We framed up. We go through, just building the entire process of building the house itself. We get to the end, get the small details, and we sell.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
I love that you were able to condense that answer because it is that simple. People
Yeah.
be taking a whole hour
Oh
to
my
explain.
gosh. The
It's not.
craziest thing, and I saw one of your questions was like, what's the myth about development? And to me, it's people think that renovation is easier. Let me do something small. And I'm like, nah, sis, I can't do that. I didn't do that. So I jumped straight into, just buying houses and being a landlord to developing new construction. I
Yeah,
never did renovation. I have something I want to renovate, but to me, a renovation is harder because
yeah,
I don't know what's behind the wall. I don't know what's under the floors. I don't know what's in the plumbing and electrical system. And to purchase something and not know, you can do an inspection, but that doesn't mean you're not going to find latent defects
right,
that the owner didn't even know about, right? So um, to me, new construction is easier. It's just about knowing the process. If you know the process, then it's easy. Just probably like anything, if you know it.
right. No, I agree. Like, I had some horror stories where we have my development deals. I
Yeah.
literally was able to go on like 5 vacations,
Ah, yes.
last 6 months, not stressed out. They
Yeah.
did what they had to do. We are on our last house.
Mhm.
Like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
So I agree with that part. It's definitely
Mhm,
easier. So how do you typically
mhm,
go over like the do, or we'll say, how do
mhm.
you approach risk management when it comes to real estate investing or development?
Well, for one, I am, and I don't think a lot of people are like this, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So I'm going to take an educated guess. I'm not just going to gamble at all, but
Right,
I'm more of a let's go, let's do it. This will work. And only because I'm knowledgeable about what I'm doing,
right.
right? So for me, it's the numbers. If I know the numbers, I
Mhm.
know where to get the financing, I know what the people want to buy or rent, right? I'm like, let's go for it. So it's all about numbers for me. The numbers and location, and then I'm going for it. That's just me. Unless I got some kind of gut feeling like, you know what, D, don't do this.
Just to talk a little bit about your spiritual journey, do
Mhm.
you feel like you got to know God, or you were became closer to God after the divorce?
Um, no, I was I don't know, I'm kind of weird. I kind of um
You're not weird. Okay. You're not.
really close. Oh, well,
You're anointed.
for most people, but I kind of was really, really into learning more about God and studying and praying in my late 20s,
Good.
into my 30s, and even did some like youth ministry things. So I've always had that connection, not always, but since then I had that connection. So I was able to pull on my faith in situations that built me before I even got there. So that when I got there, and I did have a moment where it was just like, going through bankruptcy, going through divorce, I'm doing this, I'm with this baby by myself in Dallas, away from my family. And at the time, so I had a short term rental. I got another short term rental, and I didn't know about August in New Orleans. Is the summertime is like it's terrible, right? It gets dry. I didn't know, so I had these two rents to pay, and then I had my own rent to pay, and
Right.
it was just like, well, I gotta pay these rents because they pay me money. And I was like, okay, God, am I gonna be a chump? Am I gonna be homeless out on the street? Like I that's not my calling. Like you
Right.
said, and I go through the things like you said that you're gonna prosper and establish me. You said that everything I put my hands to prospers. You say you provide for all my needs through your riches and glory by Christ Jesus. So what the heck is going on? And it was kind of a wake up call saying that to myself, like, no, you're not, but you're gonna have to push through this. So do what you gotta do. So I went home. I was like, hey, mama, can I come home? And she was like, yeah, ask your daddy. And daddy was like, come on. So, and they didn't know I was going through the whole divorce thing till I got there. And like I was giving my mama food stamps. I wasn't used to not contributing. I'm a firstborn, so I'm always used to I got me, y'all get them, and let me help y'all. And then that role reversed, and they helping me, and all I could contribute was some food stamps, and I was like, okay, Lord, any day now. But what I realized with that too is that grew me to, all right, you just got to do what you got to do. Accept this help and build back to where you were so you can do the thing you want to do. Because what I realized is I was in perfect prime position when I was before the marriage and even through the marriage and before I had her while I was working. I was in prime position all those years to develop, but I was too scared to jump out. And having gone through that situation and hitting rock bottom, it was like, well, you at the bottom, you might as well do everything you want to do now. So go
Exactly.
for it. And with that mentality, that mindset, I never look back, and I'm still going for it today.
That's beautiful. No, listen, it's like you can't go lower than the bottom.
Okay.
So
Ain't
no,
no ain't no
no,
back
keep
to go.
going.
Yeah. So
But you know what? Sometimes he'll catapult us back just
mhm.
slingshot us
Oh yeah.
forward. So we
Well, yeah.
needed to go through those because I'm telling
Those
you,
moments.
it's like I don't want to, cause like we don't want to go have backwardsness, right?
Yeah,
But sometimes that happens, believe it or
it
not.
does. It
Especially
does.
if God is not, if you didn't invite God in every step of the way, that
Hmm.
means you probably made a wrong turn somewhere, and
Hmm.
now you got to learn the lesson and go do it
Go back
again.
for it again. Yeah. Oh, you didn't heed a warning sign of which way to
Yeah,
go, and it's just like, dang it, I missed it. Okay, but I'm coming back, and
listen.
that's a good thing. Like you say, we're always able to bounce back. So yeah,
Yes, by His grace. So y'all listening, yeah, but if y'all know God, you better get to know Him
you got
today.
without that, wouldn't be here today. Wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I'd be sitting in a 9 to 5, working, typing on a computer. Wouldn't be doing this. You know.
Listen, and the 9 to 5s, I think my first rock bottom moment, my first two rock bottom moments were
Mhm.
getting fired from a 9 to 5. That's what pushed me into real estate. Seriously.
Yeah.
I was
Wow.
like,
Wow.
well, listen, I'm unemployed. I might as well take this serious now. And then the
Yeah.
second time and the last time I got fired, I
Mhm.
wound up making $30,000 in 3 weeks as a wholesaler. Oh my God,
Nice.
you wanted me to
Yes.
focus on what my dream was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask like two more questions.
Okay.
And so we know your specific niches are short-term rentals, which are great. Now you have like long-term renters in those
Mhm.
units, and of course, real
Mhm.
estate development. We know
Mhm.
that you're also a realtor and or a broker. So do
Yes.
you still take on
Well,
clients?
realtor, not broker, just
Oh,
realtor. Yeah.
realtor. Do you
Hmm.
still work with clients
As a
as
realtor,
realtor?
I do. It ain't my bread and butter. It's just a piece of the pivot. It's like, okay, I have this. Let's use it.
Listen,
So
I
I,
let it go. Yeah, I
yeah.
let mine go because somebody tried
And
to.
I understand why I let mine go once before, and then I was like, what am
No,
I
I
doing?
like helping the people, but they tried to like file a discrimination suit against me. I was
Oh,
like, the devil is a lie. So yeah,
right.
keep that. I got too
Yeah.
much to lose. Like it's a lot of for me. It was a lot of liability,
Yeah.
and then it was a lie. So we thank God. Those who are listening, anytime you meet with a client, make sure every conversation is on a recorded Zoom,
Oh wow. Yeah.
because that was the evidence that they were lying. So
Wow.
just want to put
Wow.
that out there.
Yeah.
And they picked the wrong one because I'm the person that advocates for Section 8 housing. Like that's as an investor, as a
Yeah.
realtor, I've
Yeah.
helped over 150 families move out of a shelter on vouchers. I'm like, you picked the wrong one to lie on because that's not
Yes.
me. But, so
Hmm.
another question we do have
Hmm.
is what are some of your long term, if you want to share, visions for your real estate investment or development portfolio? And what strategies do you have in place to achieve those
Hmm.
goals?
Um. Well, I guess I've been kind of so locked in and focused on these last two projects and pushing them.
Mhm.
But in my big goal is, like you said, to keep providing housing. I want to do, like, the two that I'm about to do now are going to be duplexes. So I want to get more into the multifamily space.
Mhm.
We have so many areas of Louisiana, really, not even just New Orleans, where, like you said, there's not enough housing. So there are opportunities out there to build apartments, to build some townhomes, to build communities. So that's my goal is to just do what I do and to do it on a bigger scale, right? So if I can develop a subdivision or two, if I can get some apartments going, and even get into the commercial space, I plan to go ahead and probably jump in the game on the contracting side as well,
Okay.
with some state and government contracts. So that's the goal. That's the
That's
goal.
awesome. And I'm pivoting in that space as well.
Hmm.
So I don't mind, sharing resources as I come along with them because the guys that I'm working with, they're in your state. So it might be
Right.
something for Louisiana that either they need to hire for or that
Mhm.
they already won the contract, but they might need a sub for, right? Or
I'm
oh,
your girl. I'm your girl.
but no, this was great. We probably should do a part two. Maybe we can do a
Yeah,
part two on live so we can have
okay.
interaction
Let's
from
do it.
our followers. I was
Mhm.
actually going to do this one on live, but
Mhm.
I didn't promote
Just
it
it.
for live. But anyway, you let
That's
me
all
know when
good.
you're available. We
Yeah.
can do it.
Okay.
And let everybody know how to get in contact with you for now. Let them know
Mhm.
your social medias, even though they should see it up there, your
Yeah.
website, and all
Yeah.
that good stuff.
So my website is daniellemichelle.com. One L in the Michelle. You can get me on Instagram. It's Danny the Developer. And on Facebook, it's just Danielle Michelle with one L as well. If you are looking for coaching, mentoring, I do one-on-one, and I'm in the process of launching just some classes just to get women involved, like get us a bit of the knowledge that we need so we can make a move. Because that's what I'm finding is the biggest thing. One, we don't have the knowledge. Two, we're not in the position. So the coaching and the training that I do is to give you the knowledge to become a savvy investor, and then two, to get you in position so you can invest instead of feeling as though, oh, I don't have enough money, so I can't do it. Sis, there are ways to move, shake, shift, partner. There are ways to get the funds. It's just opening up our thinking, our problem solving ability, and finding other ways to make things happen.
Yep. So lock in with Danny, the developer, on Instagram. Literally, it's at Danny, the developer, on
Yeah.
Instagram. See what she's doing. We're going to most likely do a part two. So once this episode is released, probably that same week, we
Hmm.
will do part two. And
Okay.
for now, make sure you subscribe to the Journey to Develop Her podcast. You share it with everybody you know who
Yeah.
loves real estate and Jesus, of course. And look out for everything that I'm doing as well. And you can follow me on Instagram at Dionte Chantel, at
Mhm.
Journey to Develop Her. And also we do have not only the podcast, but Zero to Developer Mentorship. So you do have time to join. Um, we did some really cool property tours. I'm going to be showing y'all the footage really soon, but I wanted to make sure I let y'all know what's going on and how you could work with myself and or Danielle Michelle. Okay. So y'all have a blessed day and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.